About half the number of people on board a vessel that capsized southeast of St. Kitts were rescued, according to information received from the St. Kitts Nevis Coast Guard. In a press conference held 28th March, Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Comrie, commander of the St. Kitts Nevis Defence Force Coast Guard unit, provided an update on the situation, including the number of persons rescued and bodies recovered.
The 16 persons that we recovered, 2 was Antiguans and 14 was Cameroonians. We don't know the 3 bodies. And as we speak, we are on the scenes searching for more bodies with the assistance of the French.
The vessel was carrying about 32 people, most of whom were Cameroonians who were living in Antigua. It is now understood that the vessel was heading to the United States Virgin Islands. It is also understood that 16 persons were rescued and 3 bodies recovered. The boat originally came from Guadeloupe and stayed for some time in Antigua before continuing its voyage. The distress call was picked up by the Martinique Maritime Center, which then rebroadcast the distress signal in English that was picked up by the St. Kitts Nevis Coast Guard and the Antigua and Barbuda Coast Guard. Glenn Bard reporting for SK Newsline.
The police are investigating a fatal shooting in the McKnight community in Bastille on Monday at around 9 p.m. that resulted in the death of 32-year-old Bernell White, alias BJ, of 4 Thomas Road, McKnight. Police responded to a report of a shooting incident and visited an alley between Central Fines Avenue and Upper Malone Avenue, McKnight, where they observed the motionless body of White, who appeared to have multiple gunshot wounds about his body. Inquiries so far have revealed that Mr. White was in the company of a female inside his motor vehicle registered P4850 on Central Street when he was accosted by 2 masked gunmen who fired several shots at him and his female companion. He exited his vehicle and ran down Central Fines Avenue, but was chased by the gunmen who shot him several times about his body. His female companion made good her escape and drove Mr. White's vehicle to the Bastille police station, where she reported what had transpired. Mr. White was pronounced dead at the scene by the district medical doctor, Dr. Underton, at about 10:30 p.m. The scene was processed by staff of the crime scene unit, and items of evidential value were taken into custody. The police said an autopsy will be performed on the body of Mr. White to determine the exact cause of death. Investigations are ongoing. The police are appealing to the persons with information on this crime to contact the Violent Crime Unit at 467-1886, 467-1887, or 467-1888, or the Bastille Police Station at 465-2241. Meanwhile, the police are also investigating the sudden death of 60-year-old Andrew Evans, a tourist visiting St. Kitts and Nevis from Wales in the United Kingdom via Britannia Cruises. Sometime after 10 a.m. on Monday, March 27th, the police received a report from the St. Kitts and Nevis Coast Guard and responded at their base as a result. Upon arrival, detectives met with members of the Coast Guard who escorted them to the pier, where they saw the lifeless body of Mr. Evans in a short blue and black beach pants lying on his back. Investigations reveal that Mr. Evans was part of a group of visitors on a snorkeling excursion at Peninsula Cove on the southeast peninsula when he disappeared temporarily and was later seen floating along the coastline. He was rescued on a dinghy and administered CPR without success. The Coast Guard responded and transported Mr. Evans to the Coast Guard base, where medical emergency technicians were awaiting. He was pronounced dead at the base by the district medical officer, Dr. Warner. An autopsy will be performed to determine the exact cause of death. Investigations are ongoing. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
Ah!
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
A special task force that was to delve into the so-called fair share issues between the two islands of the Federation has not yet started to work, according to Premier Mark Brantley, speaking at his press conference on 28 March 2023. Premier Brantley seemed to suggest that the Nevis Island elections contributed to the delays and communications with the Nevis Island administration. Earlier, the Premier had stated that the NIA had submitted names of persons to function on the task force. But months after it was disclosed that the task force was a priority in settling the nagging issues between the islands, there seemed to be very little dialogue and progress made on the matter.
That task force has not met. It has not yet been constituted. We have submitted our members to that task force, 3 members. We have not yet had any indication from Bastille as to their membership, but it is a matter that I hope to be able to have a conversation with the Prime Minister on. Truth is, and in fairness to all concerned, is that Nevis was embroiled in elections in December of last year, and then embroiled in trying to get the budget done. And I would have spoken to the Honourable Prime Minister just a few days ago, and he lamented the fact that we had not found the time to meet as we had committed to. And that was in large measure due to the fact of Nevis's and my own and my government's own involvement in elections and then budget. Now that elections are over, the cases I hope are over. Well, one has been appealed. The budget is over. Then we hope to get down to business in terms of some of these matters. So that is still in abeyance at this point.
While the task force would determine and examine several matters on the relationship between the two islands, One of the most vexing issues for the NIA over the years has been the lopsided use of revenue derived from the CBI program, largely in favor of St. Kitts. Shortly after taking office following the 2022 general elections, Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew had given a promise to the country that the matter was a priority and would be dealt with in an expeditious manner. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
Tributes continue to pour in for Mr. Randall Robinson, civil rights activist, attorney, and author who resided for several years in St. Kitts and Nevis. Veteran U.S. journalist and broadcaster Roland Martin hailed the contributions of Mr. Robinson, who passed away last week in St. Kitts. Mr. Martin hosts the digital current affairs show Roland Martin Unfiltered. Veteran U.S. Congresswoman Maxine Waters hailed the contributions of Mr. Robinson.
Randall and Hazel are two of my closest friends, and we have worked on so many projects together. I served on the board of Trans-Africa. I worked with Randall Robinson on getting rid of apartheid in South Africa. As a matter of fact, I was with Randall visiting him when he decided to go on a starvation diet in support of Haiti. He went into the basement of Trans-Africa building where he stayed on that starvation diet for weeks, absolutely bringing attention to what was going on in Haiti. And of course, we both traveled to the Central African Republic where we retrieved Aristide and brought him back to Jamaica before he ended in South Africa and coming back to Haiti eventually. But I believe we saved his life in the way that we went up there, rented a plane, and brought him back. But then I worked with him on the issue on bananas in the Caribbean, where the WTO had basically undermined the trade from the little countries in the Caribbean that basically raised that banana, and they, received, the profits from those bananas to put their children through school. And the WTO teamed up, and the United States was part of it, and basically stripped them of the ability to trade that banana. So between the Caribbean, all of the Caribbean, and especially Haiti.
Although living in St. Kitts and Nevis since 2001, Mr. Robinson kept a low profile. He was noted as the founder of Trans-Africa, an advocacy organization in Washington, D.C. that seeks to influence the foreign policy of the United States concerning African and Caribbean countries and all African diaspora groups. Mr. Robinson, known particularly for his impassioned opposition to apartheid and for his advocacy on behalf of Haitian immigrants and Haitian President Jean-Bertrand Aristide. Due to his frustration with American society, Robinson immigrated to St. Kitts and Nevis in 2001. He was married to Hazel Ross Robinson. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
Rodriguez Feal has been participating in Cuban elections for decades. She says her family was among the poorest in the country and benefited from Fidel Castro's revolution. Now, she says, soaring prices are a major challenge for Cuba's government, and that's why its leadership needs more support than ever.
We need to work so we confront the difficult times, so we can produce more for the country. We have lots of educated people. After the pandemic, lots of people are struggling, and for a country like ours, with an embargo, it's worse.
Millions of Cubans headed to the polls on Sunday to elect the members of the National Assembly that will select the next president.
Cuba is a one-party system. The candidates for the National Assembly are selected by a commission loyal to the Communist Party. There's 472 candidates for 472 seats. There's no members of the opposition, and that's why critics say that Cubans are allowed to vote, but not to choose.
Disenchantment with the economic situation is everywhere to be seen. U.S. sanctions, power cuts, a 60% inflation rate this year, and shortages of almost everything have forced hundreds of thousands to leave the country. And that's why turnout is crucial for the government, to provide the new assembly with the legitimacy it needs to rule in times of trouble.
There are a lot of people that will not vote to punish the government, because it's a fact that a government in the middle of a crisis is a government that gets punished. But at the same time, the new National Assembly needs to get involved in the day-to-day problems people face and get into a debate forum.
But not everyone is convinced. Thousands of people took to the streets in July 2021 in the largest anti-government protests in years. They were demanding freedom. Hundreds were detained and remain in prison. Miriam Leiva has been an outspoken critic of Cuba's government. Her husband spent years in prison.
The Cuban reality doesn't need to be exaggerated because it's tragic. After years, it's my duty to say the truth. The situation is so difficult that we have to see how the government solves this and opens up. Because there is one reality. The control here is not in a civilian government, but in the hands of the military, and now more than ever.
The government is promising to improve the country's devastated economy. Millions in Cuba are waiting for those reforms that will provide the relief that many here so desperately need. Teresa Bo, Al Jazeera, Havana, Cuba.
We also have new developments on that South Florida couple being held hostage in Haiti. We've now learned they have spoken to family here as the kidnappers continue to raise the ransom. Local 10's Alex Finney is live in Miami with this update.
Family in the States speaking with their loved ones for the first time over the weekend.
They will give them their phone to talk to a family member and
to call like the first person you have from your recent list.
The kidnappers giving the couple less than 5 minutes on the call. Their family has been working closely with the U.S. Embassy in Haiti and the FBI. Unfortunately, no one has been able to get back in touch with Jean and Abigail Toussaint since that initial incoming call Sunday.
we are hoping to get them home, and we know that the FBI are doing everything they can.
The Toussaints were kidnapped while vacationing in Haiti over a week ago. The couple from South Florida was on a bus from Port-au-Prince. Kidnappers stopped the bus and demanded all Americans off. That was Saturday, March 18th. It's believed that the Haitian gang known as Tilapli is holding them captive.
That gang located around Matissan.
Yeah,
So that's the area they cover.
The kidnappers originally demanded $6,000 for their release, only to increase the ransom to $200,000, money the family says they don't have. There was definitely some fear on the family's part going into the trip, given the political unrest and the gang violence that's been raging on in Haiti for a while. The couple from Tamarack has a 1.5-year-old son. This was the last message the family received from Jean and Abigail, saying they landed safely in Haiti.
We've been talking to the baby a lot, so we get a couple smiles and when we speak to him, but then we also get really sad.
And to add to that a little bit more, we know that their son is actually turning 2 years old tomorrow. Just a very, very sad story. Meanwhile, we've reached out to several local officials here in South Florida. A few have gotten back to me and said that they are monitoring things and they are working to get in touch with people there in Haiti to move this situation along to get this couple back home. For now, that's the very latest live in Miami. Alex Finney, Local 10 News.
Another school shooting, another community terrorized. At Covenant School in Nashville, shots fired, gunning down 3 children and 3 adult staffers.
There was so many police cars, and then the ambulances started coming away from the school. And that's when I had heard it was a school shooting.
Minutes later, in a school lobby, 2 arriving officers fire back.
The officers engaged her. She was fatally shot by responding police officers.
Investigators were left probing the car of the shooter, a 28-year-old identified as Audrey Elizabeth Hale, and what drove Hale to open fire on children.
I was literally moved to tears to see this and the kids as they were being ushered out of the building. There was a door that was entered. All doors were locked to our understanding, and how exactly she got in at this point is still under investigation.
The daughter of one Covenant teacher was texting with her mother, who said she was hiding with students in a closet and hearing gunshots close by.
It's disgusting, and I have no words. I'm just trying to process it all. It's so terrible, so sad.
From President Joe Biden, there was more consolation with little hope of action.
It's just, it's sick. We're still gathering the facts of what happened and why.
Police say the attacker, a former student, was armed with a pistol and 2 assault rifles, a style of weapon the U.S. Congress banned in 1994, before allowing the ban to expire 10 years later. Biden again called for Congress to renew the ban.
And we have to do more to stop gun violence. It's ripping our communities apart, ripping the soul of this nation.
But on a divided Capitol Hill, he has no real chance of passing it or ending the decades-long series of mass shootings in America. John Hendren, Al Jazeera.
President Biden has declared a major emergency in the state of Mississippi, where a tornado has left hundreds homeless. This is the moment on Friday when the wind barreled through a school in the area, and you can see that happening, captured on CCTV cameras just inside. And these are the latest drone pictures after the tornado struck, carving a path of destruction at 170 miles long. We know at least 25 people were killed in Mississippi and 1 person in Alabama. Dozens have been injured. Our North America correspondent Sophie Long reports from Mississippi.
This is Rolling Fork, a small, close community in Mississippi. There is little left. They've lost loved ones, their homes, everything.
We get storms like bad rain or, probably high winds or something, but we never experience nothing like this where it can wipe out a whole town. Schools, children, parents, loved ones. It wiped out everything.
These girls said they came back to look for their belongings. They didn't find much. This is what remains of people's homes here in Rolling Fork. You can see washing machines, signs of a life that took place here before. The tornado struck in the middle of the night. Many people were sleeping. You can imagine just how terrifying that must have been. It meant many didn't hear the alerts.
Oh, man. Dear Jesus, please help them.
And seeing how the tree was blowing, and ran in the bathroom, closed the door, and jumped in the tub.
Francisco said the only warning he had was the noise of the wind, a sound that will haunt him forever.
It was terrifying, and it's like something that I never want to go through again. I don't want to experience that again in their life. But I made it through there, but it was scary.
He survived by sheltering in his bathroom, the only bit of the house that's still partially standing. There is some long-term resentment here. Mississippi is the poorest state in America, and some feel forgotten by leaders in the nation's capital.
Excuse my language, damn, you forgot about us? Just because we are the last in everything, you forgot about us? That's not right. That is very heart-wrenching, other than we lost everything, and we feel that we don't have support from the superior people also.
President Biden described what happened here as heartbreaking and said he and the First Lady are praying for those who had lost loved ones. But people here are asking for more than prayers and emergency relief. They want long-term support. Sophie Long, BBC News, Rolling Fork, Mississippi.
The Sugar Boys have secured a spot in the CONCACAF Gold Cup prelim to be played in Miami later this year in a bid to qualify for the CONCACAF Gold Cup. This is courtesy of a 2-0 victory over Aruba on Monday at the Warner Park Cricket Stadium in CONCACAF Nations League action. Keith Roy Freeman was the star of the show, scoring both goals for the Sugar Boys in the first half stoppage time and the 80th minute. St. Kitts Nevis finished the game with 10 men after Louis Maynard was sent off, picking up a second yellow card in the 84th minute. Coach Austin Dico Huggins was happy with the win, though he felt the team should have scored more goals.
The opportunity was there for us to get more, but that's the nature of the game. We managed to get 2 goals and we are successful. So now we move forward to the next leg, which is going to be in Miami in June. So we have a lot of time to prepare ourselves much better. So we're looking forward for going to Miami in June.
The Sugar Boys are once again on the cusp of making history, one step away from qualifying for the CONCACAF Gold Cup, should they win their playoff match in Miami against an opponent to be determined. He's confident this time, with this team, they can do it.
We are confident and we are looking forward for the opportunity to go out and display our talent and to let people know what St. Kitts have, and we could once more compete with the big boys.
Meanwhile, Aruba's coach Marvick Bermudez said they were unable to nullify the long ball threat from St. Kitts Nevis. He spoke about the reputation of St. Kitts Nevis when they discovered they were drawn against them for the CONCACAF Nations League.
We saw all the teams in Group C, and I told the guys, the most difficult team in Group C is St. Kitts. And then we see the low thing and we got St. Kitts. So I told the guys we have a strong opponent, So we have to be prepared. And I was right. St. Kitts is a good team.
St. Kitts and Nevis qualified for the CONCACAF Gold Cup prelim as Group C winners of League C of the CONCACAF Nations League. A draw will be held on April 14th to determine the Sugar Boys' opponents for that round of the competition.
Welcome to the SKN Newsline Weather Report. I am Janil Boole. Here is a look at the forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. More detailed weather report, visit our website at www.sknnewsline.com.